Hi all and welcome back to my channel. My name is Davis.
And I'm Dennis.
And today we are talking about tech because this is what we do on this channel.
Yes, and this is the AERO, I hear. I read because it's written on the back.
Yes, it's very pretty. It's called the Gigabyte AERO 14 OLED and it's quite an interesting laptop.
How did you memorize that?
I think it's perfectly aimed at people like us because we are creators.
Creators, that is the nicest way you could possibly put it.
This is a laptop that's made for people who do Photoshop, who do Premiere Pro, who do Lightroom.
Final Cut.
Possibly if it were available on Windows, but unfortunately it's not. But this is a laptop that's made for people who work, you know, in the creative field because it's got a beautiful OLED display, it's got decent performance, and it's very, very portable. So today we're going to talk about my experience with this laptop over the past month and give our verdict. Mostly happy, but unfortunately...
Do you need any counseling?
There are some glaring flaws that are quite troublesome, unfortunately. And if you like videos like this, then be sure that you are subscribed, like this video if you haven't done so yet, and also comment down below if you've got any questions about this laptop at all.
What is the color called? I want my rooms painted in it.
We'll get to that right after a word from our sponsor, PureVPN. Now, Dennis, do you love a VPN?
I do like a VPN. What does VPN stand for?
Virtual Private Network.
Ooh la la.
I'm very smart, aren't I? So recently I was on holiday and we were trying to catch the latest F1 race. But
you're on a holiday?
Yes, overseas. On a plane.
Oh my god.
And unfortunately, most streaming services do not allow you to stream outside of their home country. So I could not watch the F1 if I didn't have a VPN. Now, PureVPN came in and saved the day.
It sounds quite expensive though. Could I afford it?
Well, luckily, there is a sale going on. Because you can get the 2-year Pure Max plan, and if you get that, you get 84% off. Does that impress you? That
sounds like a lot.
It is a lot. In addition to that, you also get 5 months completely for free.
What's the catch?
There's no catch, because with the Max plan, not only are you getting one of the most reliable VPNs there are, but you're also getting other features too, Dennis, like a secure password manager, you're getting end-to-end file encryption, and also a personal privacy manager, all for just $3.29 US a month.
How do I sign up?
There is a link in my bio if you want to check it out.
I will check it out after this break.
And if you do, you go and you help it support us, keep this channel alive. And now let's talk about the laptop. So the Gigabyte AERO 14, this is a laptop that's been a long time coming because unfortunately during my initial test of it, I did have a few issues.
Oh gosh, did it have issues or did you?
Well, I thought that it had issues, but it turns out that it was just me.
It's always a Davis problem with you.
So I thought that it wasn't charging. Like I was trying it with a lot of different chargers, like my MacBook's charger, my monitor's charger, and also my 130-watt Anker battery.
But guess what? You forgot to turn on the power at the plug?
Unfortunately not, because this laptop is stupendously picky with how you charge it. It only charges with the charger that comes with the laptop.
Can you plug it into any port?
You can only plug it into this one specific port.
Not even these two?
Not the other two.
Wow.
And if you use another charger, the battery does not charge. It still powers the laptop, but it bypasses the battery.
That sounds not good.
So if you do get this laptop, just be sure to use the initial charger. Okay, so let's talk about the price and the specs because it costs $2,999 in Australia.
Under $3,000. That seems pretty good.
It's actually a really sharp. Yeah, it's a really sharp deal. It's a MacBook Pro competitor, and for that price, you can get the base-ish MacBook Pro 14, but upgraded to the 1 terabyte of storage, but stuck with 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is pitiful.
How much does this have?
This comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM.
That is more, but is it enough?
Personally, I would still like more than 16, but at this price point, it's reasonable.
But have you encountered any problems? Because I've seen you multitasking Forza and Photoshop at the same time, and I don't know, but that sounds like a lot of work for this little computer.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, I would like to be future-proofed if I am spending this much money on a laptop, and I would like to see at least the option of 32 gigabytes of RAM.
I think you're just being greedy. Let's move on.
Okay, so the processor is the 13th generation, so the latest one, i7 i3-700H. I'm sure that everyone knows what that is.
How many cores?
It's 14 cores.
14?
It's 10 nanometers.
That's more than a MacBook M3 Max.
It is a lot of cores, and it can suck up to 45 watts of power.
It's quite efficient.
It's relatively efficient, and paired to that is the NVIDIA RTX 4050. So again, it's the latest generation GPU from NVIDIA. It's 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, can consume up to 45 watts as well of power. What's interesting though is that it's got special drivers to make sure that creative apps like Photoshop, like Premiere Pro work their best. If you do want better graphics though, you have to go for the 16-inch, which gets the 4070 graphics.
But this is not bad.
I think for the size, it's spec'd very, very impressively. Power-wise, it's roughly 20% less than an Apple M2 Pro, but to be fair, nobody can really compete against Apple these days. And for the price as well, you get 1 terabyte of SSD included, and also the latest Wi-Fi. I don't know why I wrote that, because no one really cares, but it's got the latest Wi-Fi 6E.
I'm just happy that it's got 16 gigs of RAM rather than just 8.
I've heard some talk on the internet saying that it's terribly priced in Australia because it's only $15.99 in the US, but when compared to the competition, especially the MacBook, it's very affordable indeed.
Let's move on.
So, want to be really impressed, Dennis?
Sure.
This one, the Red Dot Design Award 2023.
Why?
You're a sucker for Red Dot Design Awards, Dennis. Tell me all of the products that you've owned that's won that award.
The Porsche Design P95 521.
Yeah.
Some Porsche Design hard drives, but they look genuinely.
Sounds like
they
you're
look
just obsessed
genuinely
with Porsche.
good and different and unique. But this just looks like any other relatively premium Windows laptop.
Okay, what
I
if
mean, is it any better than a Surface in design?
What if I said that this platinum-colored aluminium is inspired by the dawn sky as it gradually changes from dark to light?
Don't give me that. How is it different from this iPad?
It is
It's the same
just
silver.
as sparkly.
And did this win an award?
It probably did.
A red dot?
No.
Meaningless. Let's move on.
Okay, so it's a pretty laptop, but maybe not deserving of the Red Dot Design Award, you're saying?
It's good looking enough.
It's got some interesting details. It says Aero very faintly on the trackpad. It's got some very massive cooling ducts, which probably doesn't really go with the Design Award thing. And the logo is iridescent and lights up at the same time. But it lights up very inconsistently. Sometimes it lights up, sometimes it doesn't. I can't really tell when it is.
Yeah, but all the if we look at the ports, the sides are exposed, which is something that Apple just simply would not do.
Yeah, but I would say it feels very well made, especially for a Windows laptop. It only weighs 1.49 kilograms, so very light, sort of in between MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, sort of getting MacBook Pro performance-ish with MacBook Air weight. 17 millimeters thin, so a bit thicker than some of the competition, but still very, very small as well. 14-inch display, and what I am impressed though is the amount of ports that it's got.
Let's count them. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I don't think anyone's interested in the number of ports, rather what they are.
Okay.
So it's got a 3.5 millimeter headphone. Fantastic.
Yeah, is the amp good?
No idea. It sounds okay to me. Unfortunately, it's only got a micro SD card slot. Now, I don't really get it. Why are laptop makers starting to include this micro SD?
GoPros are very popular.
Unless if you are a GoPro enthusiast, nobody cares.
If you've got an Android phone and you want to transfer files,
we want a full-size SD card slot,
No, you want a full-size SD card. There's plenty of people who would rather a micro.
Okay, on this side we've got USB-C/power input. On the other side, we've got 2 more USB-Cs. I think they're Thunderbolt as well.
Are they on separate buses?
I have no idea. You mention this every time, but I don't know, Dennis. It's got HDMI 2.1. You'd be interested to hear.
Is that the one, the latest one?
It is.
Oh my god.
So with the Thunderbolt
4K,
port,
120.
with the Thunderbolt ports, you can have up to 3 4K displays.
That's really good.
And on the back, most excitingly, it's got HDMI and
USB-A.
USB-A is so useful to have.
Is.
I say this time and time again, but laptops should really bring it back because there's so many accessories.
I want one on my phone.
There's so many accessories that are USB-A. Why do you want it on your phone, Dennis?
So you can plug in a USB stick.
You're a proper crazy person now. Okay, and the keyboard as well is a little bit unusual.
I mean, it's white. What else
It's
is unusual?
laser engraved white.
Laser engraved?
I
as
don't know
opposed to what?
I think the writing is laser engraved.
What if that's just typical in the industry?
I have no idea, Dennis.
What if every laptop has laser engraved writing?
Well, more importantly, I did want to mention the font. The font's not my favorite font in the world.
It's a bit tall.
It looks like it's trying too hard to be cool.
Is it cool?
No. There's 17mm key travel, which is pretty long, but I'd say it's a little bit inconsistent. Like some keys feel a little bit springier than others.
Well, it surprises you with every press.
And I'm not sure what this is, but I've written down anti-ghosting keys. I'm guessing that's got something to do with the backlight.
It's xenophobic against ghosts.
But my overall impressions of the keyboard is that it does feel pretty good, but I do not like the layout. It's very different to a MacBook's layout,
you'll get
which
used
is what
to
I'm used to.
You'll get used
but
to
it's just a little bit odd. Like I need to look down at the keys while I'm typing.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Probably is. And the trackpad as well, I think it's a pretty good trackpad. But again, I say this every time with Windows laptops, it's a dive board mechanism. I do not like dive board mechanisms.
Yes, but my iPad trackpad, it clicks,
It clicks
on,
on
the top
all
as
4
well.
corners, exactly.
And that's a dive board.
No, dive board just means it goes one way in.
Oh, I thought you meant it was clicky.
Well, I assume we might have different definitions of dive board, but my definition of dive board is that only, like an actual dive board, only one side goes down.
That would make sense.
So the trackpad it's okay for a Windows laptop, but just not very good. What is terrible though are the speakers.
It sounds like speaker.
The speaker or speakers, I think there's at least 2. It sounds absolutely
It's hard for me
terrible.
to believe there's more than one.
It sounds incredibly tinny. In fact, we did a test. It sounds worse than the iPhone.
That's just pitiful.
Like, in what situation would you expect a phone to have louder, clearer, bassier speakers than a laptop?
And most of the time when I'm using a laptop, I use the internal speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm editing a video, I like to use the proper speakers. If I'm watching a video.
I think having a MacBook just really, you get used to having incredible speakers, and most competitors unfortunately do not have that.
Very sad.
So it's very, very glaring. The webcam is 1080p.
Is it fine?
It's got Windows Hello, which I do like, but it's not as reliable as some Windows Hellos I've used in the past, but overall it is still pretty good. Hello, we are recording this on the webcam. Hi. Yeah, I'd say the webcam definitely looks pretty good, but the Windows Hello is not as reliable as some other systems I've used. Let's talk about the most impressive feature about the laptop now. The screen. But let's start with the fault, because it does not go back enough. Because last time we looked at a laptop together, well, a few times ago, we commented about the Asus ZenBook, and that screen went all the way down 180 degrees.
Like contortionist.
And you said it was, a bit excessive, not needed. Well, this has got the opposite problem. It barely goes beyond, let's say, what's that?
91 degrees?
Not 91. It barely goes beyond 120 degrees. And it's just, when you're using it on your lap, let's say, sometimes you just want the screen to go back a little bit further, and it doesn't.
But you adapt to it. My iPad doesn't go back very far, and I'm fine with it
This
now.
is not an issue that you should have to face.
You'll get used to it.
What you maybe won't get used to is how good the screen is though. It's 14 inches, 2.8K OLED, and it is absolutely absolutely gorgeous. This is properly color calibrated X-Rite, and it just looks so much better than every other screen I've looked
calibrated
at.
across the brightnesses? Because a common problem with OLEDs is it's only calibrated properly at, say, 300 nits.
This is not just an OLED issue. This is how all screens are calibrated.
Okay. But it affects OLEDs more than others.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how bright it is where they calibrated it, but it does look very good. Colors look absolutely incredible. It's far beyond the micro LED, the mini LED that you find on MacBooks. And I love the 16:10 aspect ratio. It's the resolution as well, really good.
What is it?
It's 2880 by 1800.
That more or less than a MacBook?
It's roughly equivalent. 90 Hz display, so it feels pretty smooth. It's not as smooth as 120, but to me it feels pretty smooth. 100% DCI-P3 cinema grade gamut.
What does that mean?
Really good for color graders. So this is something that I wish I had when I was studying color grading.
How has it affected your work?
I haven't done any color grading with this, but if I were to, this would be very impressive. 400 nits as well, so it's very bright for an OLED, only marginally dimmer than MacBook's mini LED, and the bezels are 3mm.
Compared to?
I don't know how thick a MacBook's bezels are, but it looks very thin to me. Like, look at how thin those bezels are.
It's thin.
Okay, now let's go and talk about the software, because it's Windows.
It's okay.
I really do like Windows.
It's like any other Windows laptop.
Exactly. So
Fine.
we should talk about its lack of bloatware. Now, we've tested a lot of Windows laptops, and what annoys me every single time is how much bloatware there is. It's like McAfee says, you got 24 hours of protection left. I'm like, I just bought this laptop. I've spent thousands of dollars on this. I do not want this spammy app telling me that I've got viruses. Luckily, this has got none of that. It is remarkably
clean. Don't they
clean.
care about your security?
I think Windows Defender
I need McAfee
is
and
more than
Norton
enough.
at the same time to feel safe.
They'll probably think that the other one is a virus.
Competition is healthy.
Anyway, so
Free market.
there is one piece of software that I do quite like though. It's the Gigabyte Control Center. Now, this is the app that essentially allows you to control different parts of your laptop, like turn your keyboard lights on and off. You can control the fans, what sort of mode you would like. But it's also got something called AI Boost Smart Optimization.
Is this really better than 14 days of McAfee?
Probably, because it detects what app is being used and applies the best CPU, GPU fan setting.
Sounds good.
Wow. It's also got real-time monitoring, so you can see what your GPU and CPU are up to, and temperatures in a very easy-to-use interface.
I use iStat Mini.
That's quite a good Mac app, actually. And you also get shortcuts to NVIDIA control panel and stuff like that. And now let's talk about performance, because this laptop is blazingly fast. It's just a 14-inch laptop. It's a wee 14-inch laptop. So it's an ultrabook size. Let's get the screen back on. But it is incredibly fast. The maximum thermal design power, I've just got this written here. The maximum thermal design power in creator mode is 70 watts. So creator mode is not the flat out maximum mode, but it's like a comfortable mode where it keeps relatively quiet. And in that mode, I did some geek benches. Do you want to hear?
Sure.
So on power, single core, 2361.
Is that good?
It's pretty good. So what's really good with this computer is that when you are on battery mode, just ignore how the screen flashes to black whenever you do that. You wait a few seconds and then it comes back. This is a terrible example. But what's really good is that it doesn't lose that much single core performance. So it feels just as snappy when you're using it normally. It only goes down from 2361 to 2279.
That's impressive.
Multi-core does drop by roughly half. So if you're doing something, yes, that's multi-core though. What's important for
half?
Yes, from 13200 to 7020. So if you are doing something intensive that's multi-threaded, it's not great. But for general everyday use, you won't notice the difference. Yes? Stop laughing. You won't notice the computer's But what's
half this
important
performance.
is single core performance in most situations.
Sure.
Okay, and the graphics as well, they're a little bit better than the Asus that we
Okay.
tested. So that had
What did that have?
That had the previous generation 3050.
Oh.
This has the 4050.
Okay.
Because this arguably was one of the most impressive things about this laptop.
On a 14-inch laptop.
It's so small,
gaming.
it's
Are
so
you sure?
light, yet it games really well. So firstly, I tested
How?
Forza Horizon 4 in ultra settings. So
Not
basically,
a fan of that game.
highest settings that you can,
Yeah.
90 frames per second,
my God.
very easy. It looks smooth, it looks fantastic, it plays very well.
Must have been like butter.
And Forza Motorsport, the new one, as we all know, it's the most unoptimized game in the world.
I don't know, the new WRC game, the EA one, that's pretty bad as well.
Well, yeah, this is really bad. But at 1200p, high settings, I can get roughly 50 to 70 frames a second. Relatively unstable, a bit of stutter, but pretty impressive
Not bad,
nonetheless.
yeah.
On a laptop this small, I would not expect any more gaming performance. And
I'm
yeah.
really impressed, yeah.
What's also really impressive is the cooling, because, okay, firstly, let's just mention that it is very, very loud. As soon as you open anything...
Yes, but I've got noise-cancelling headphones, and I'm not using these internal speakers anyway.
Yeah, the fans blare, and you can obviously change the mode. But there is basically no thermal throttling at all. It's got something called WindForce Infinity Cooling.
Got a bloody big fan.
It's got dual 5-volt 72 blade fans, 3 dedicated heat pipes, dual air intake, sounds like a car now, and it's got double the cooling of the previous system apparently. They did say, however, on the website, it's whisper quiet. It's
Quite a
anything
loud
but.
whisper.
So cooling and performance are both very impressive for a laptop of this size. Unfortunately, there is a downside.
What?
Battery life.
Let me assume that it gets about the same amount of battery life as my beloved G3 iBook with 4 hours of battery.
Quite similar actually.
Oh my god, it's as good as a G3 iBook.
For 2023, not 2003, however, Dennis, that is
2001.
it's pretty dreadful battery
Oh.
life. It's got 63 watt hour, which isn't the biggest, but isn't tiny either. What I found is that when I'm being very careful, so basically just a Word document and maybe one Chrome tab, for
Chrome, that's the problem.
4 to 5 hours. Not
45 hours?
Not 45, but
wow.
4 to 5 hours. And when you've got battery...
425 hours, 425. Not bad.
With battery saver mode though, you can just about eke out 6 hours.
But that's average for a laptop, isn't it?
Well, this is an average. This is like when I'm really, really being careful.
Okay.
They claim up to 7.5 hours of video playback. That's very optimistic in my eyes.
Well, that's just an iTunes movie with the lowest brightness.
Yeah, and but when I am using it sort of reasonably, sort of like a more maybe 10 tabs, and
It's a bit
then
unreasonable, isn't
Creative
it?
Cloud working in the background, just Creative Cloud, just the launcher.
Bit much.
It goes down to 2 to 3 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours.
It's not good at all.
Ooh.
And remember, they can only charge this laptop with the official charger that comes in the box. So I couldn't charge it with my massive Anker external battery, which actually was very annoying because I was happily editing. I was like, I've got plenty of battery left. I've got my portable charger, and it doesn't charge it. It's insane. However, with the 130 watt charger, it does charge up to 50% in half an hour, which is good. But it doesn't accept charge from any other charger, and that's just, it honestly just kills the laptop for me. I want a laptop that would accept charge from my portable battery.
I think you've been reckless because it's a inbuilt protection to protect this very nice computer from dodgy chargers, and like dodgy chargers like your Anker battery, your MacBook charger. These Aero chargers are much better.
There are better ways of doing this though, Dennis.
I think you're being careless.
And so let's talk about our recommendations. Would you recommend this laptop?
I mean, for $3,000, I can't imagine you doing much better.
I think for $3,000, it's very good value. However, you should only buy this if you basically work at your desk all day plugged in.
Yes, but is the competition with OLED laptops any better?
Okay, so the Asus, I actually prefer this over the Asus. It's got better performance, much better cooling, but that did have faster refresh rate and slightly better battery life.
I mean, slightly, what do you mean? Half an hour?
We got roughly 5 to 6 hours of like normal use instead of like, 3 hours.
How did it do that?
Just probably it's more efficient. We've got to remember as well, MacBooks get anywhere from 10 to 15
Yes,
hours
but
of
they're
battery
on
life.
ARM. You can't compare them.
You are cross-shopping them though in this market. I would be deciding between this
If you're
and
a
a MacBook
Forza
Pro.
gamer, this is the only choice. You can't get a MacBook.
That's true. I tried playing Forza on the MacBook and it did not work. And so that brings us to the end of this review. So out of 10, what do you give this laptop?
I don't know, it's quite good. I honestly can't imagine a Windows laptop being any better for the price, so 8?
Oh, that's quite generous. I would say 7. If the battery life was a little bit better, I
Yes,
could
but this
definitely
is an
recommend it more.
OLED, small and thin and light laptop.
It's good, but battery life is important to me.
Yes, but you can't expect a laptop to be this powerful, this thin, this small to get any better battery life. So I think you have unreasonable expectations.
All right, let us know what you think this laptop should get in the comments, and also feel free to comment anything you would like
You just
about
live
this
in
laptop.
La La Land.
And make sure you are subscribed if you haven't done so yet. Press the like button. And on that note, toodaloo.